It's an amazing opportunity that we have now, but early on it was completely different.
It's my great pleasure to announce that Newcastle will be in the Sydney Winfield Premiership competition as from season 1988.
Along with the new name, the team's colours and mascot were also announced.
It was a 10-year battle. Michael Hill, Jerry Edser and Lee Morn met at Squids Inc in 1978, and they had to coerce Graham Hards and Max Fox along to be able to convince Newcastle Rugby League that we should have a team in the Winfield Cup.
Meanwhile, the International Sports Ground started receiving its top dressing today.
Well, this town had to have it. Instead of having to flock to Sydney to see big-time football, they could see it here in their own backyard.
We've got to try and nurse our nursery. We've got to try and look after the youth of Newcastle and give them every opportunity to one day to become a knight.
I was the first group coming through ever that could sleep in your own bed and play in the big time and represent Newcastle. It was absolutely massive.
Well, it was ingrained from an early age that you want to be the player that everyone wanted to play with. That was the ethos of the club. It was all built on hard work. Around that time, Alan McMahon, the late Alan McMahon, who set the club up, along with David Waite and Robert Finch and Alan Bell, these coaches. They taught me everything I knew.
But here come the Newcastle Knights.
The early days were pretty raw. No one knew what to expect.
Well, the early days were great. It was just, it's certainly not as intrusive as it is now in terms of the media. We were left up here to our own devices to some extent. There wasn't a lot of expectation on us.
Gene Miles busts out. Oh, trying to get trouble.
The fact that we had a go and were pretty tough side, I suppose, and sort of gave it to the opposition, that certainly helped.
Both sides were playing it tough, and midway through the second half, tempers flared. 4 players were sin-binned for 10 minutes, including the Knights' Glenn Miller and David Boyd.
Gave the ball now to Sam Short when he held his feet. Out wide it goes this time to Darren forward. Turn away to Brian Clinton. Clinton score.
Yeah, I think it was a really exciting period for me, and I think for a lot of us that came to town in that first or second year.
Now they come out through Hagan. Hagan trying to switch, goes his own.
And it was a fantastic group of players that were all young, they're all keen, all tough. Also, when you went to the stadium, you could actually feel a sense of expectation that you had to get out and do well and do your best. And I think that's something that the team was sort of built on.
State Premier Nick Greiner announced the medal winners over a suitably sumptuous dinner at the Hilton Hotel. Despite a strong points tally throughout the season, Sargent was clearly astonished to carve a special place in the history of the Rothmans medal.
You don't do much better than this.
Away for Sargent. Sargent's gone straight through. Looks for support. Gordon's there with him, but he's got to give it to the Gordon. Put the glasses away. Ashley Gordon underneath the black dot.
I think we've got the players. If we can kick on from last year, and this is our third year, we're all a little bit more experienced.
Hagan comes across field. Boyd stands. Back to Fulmer. Fulmer shows good pace. Acceleration. Fulmer in the clear. Away from one. Steve Fulmer has support inside. And Robbie McCormack will score. That's a great try from Newcastle.
And it didn't take very long, but over the first couple of seasons, probably, people went from turning up to watch their old favourite team, like a Balmain or a Parramatta or whoever, to turning up to watch us.
So can the Knights take us to a playoff situation on Tuesday night?
The run down the tunnel out into that environment was always something to look forward to.
Kent. Doyle. Gordon and Robinson. He beats him, he'll score. They won't catch him. He just brushed Robinson off.
I think those who watched the games in the early days, particularly home games, would have been duly impressed with the way that we handled ourselves and the way that we competed and represented the community.
With 20 seconds left in the match, the Knights still had a chance and the crowd went wild as Glanville levelled the scores.
Newcastle from dummy half. Glanville. They are going to have to kick the goal from out wide.
22 all, the siren had sounded and it was up to Flash Gordon.
Hits it well, he's done it! After the end of the time, Ashley Gordon, he will be the hero of Newcastle.
David Wade has been with the Newcastle Knights since their entry into the Winfield Cup in 1988 as reserve grade coach and development officer, a factor that worked in his favour when the board of directors of the Newcastle Knights made their decision last night.
And I was part of the building process, and I probably see myself now as someone who's given a similar sort of opportunity in the top grade, and I hope to grab it with both hands.
Sargent now, Sargent on the wall, gets out of 2. Sargent still going, close to the line, Mark Sargent. They won't stop the big fella.
But I remember in '92 that year we had, and we scored some terrific tries, and we had some quality players in the team as well.
Mark Granville dances out, gives the ball to Johnny Schuster. Schuster now, he's got support either side, steps off on the right from Danny Peacock, and Johnny Schuster's going to score under the post. Oh, brilliant try again to the Newcastle Knights.
What also helped, and this is where the crowd did come into play, it was a hostile environment for the visiting team. There's no doubt about that.
Now Sargent. Minus the head down. I tell you what, it's made him run faster.
Well, he's got a man in support. Must be a try.
Oh, Davis.
Oh, no.
McCormack. It's play on. McCormack goes for the corner. Pulled down by Stewart.
Well, the ball's got to go left. Newcastle's got a knee in play. He's gone there. He's got over.
Sargent. Oh, Sargent.
He has.
He's put it down.
Yeah, to think that you're going to go out as a front rower and score 3 tries in a pinch game, let alone that one, is, it was pretty much unthinkable.
Rodwell is down and can't continue the game. Away now. It's gone from Boyd to Hagan for Sargent. He's looking for 3. He's going to get it. Sargent. He gets a treble. Oh, look at the smile. Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Hey, Michael. Keep walking, mate. How does it feel?
Yeah, great effort, a great achievement for the club. Certainly one of the best days I've had since I've been here.
Robbie, how do you feel about history?
Oh, we're buzzing. This is great. We've got equal club championship and 3 grades in the semis. It's fantastic.
It signalled to the broader league and certainly to the governing body just how important that football club was to the game itself, because massive numbers of busloads of people got on buses and went down to watch us play.
Glanville pushes it out for O'Davis. Centre kicks. Gets a bounce. Gets a try. Oh, superb effort.
I mean, once again, it's do or die, but we basically wiped the stadium with it.
Glanville, round the back. Godden. Yes! Try!
But when all were asked what was the biggest factor in their win, it was the red and blue army of supporters.
It's something that's special. I think they've got a special football team, and they've got special supporters, and that's part and parcel of making this club one of the great rugby league clubs of the future.
Newcastle have won rugby league's crown. 1, 2, 3, and last. Davis, cross for Ainscow, now for Hagan. Marquette gets it away for Schuster. He's very fast. Here comes Silver across the park. Schuster goes inside in, flushes away from 1 and 2. Oh, Johnny Schuster! That's a great try.
We needed a mascot, and the Knights are a proud figure in history, and they ride horses, so we needed a horse, and we got one called Rocky, and Cliff Parker, who was a clerk of the course at Newcastle Jockey Club.
Rolling the arm round trying to get it going, but Newcastle again on a roll, and McCormack picks up Butterfield.
Butterfield inside the 30. Marn will get him. No, Marn misses him. Butterfield scores. 20,000 Novocastrians love it.
Yeah, look, I was a fan on the hill. I loved coming to the Knights and watching them. The Big Chief, Butts. When the Johns boys came in, being a Coalfields boy, I followed them closely.
Now they're on the charge, the Knights. Matthew Johns, the wrap around again with Robbie O'Davis. Gets the ball back as Matthew Johns sights a little opening. Darts through, steps off left to right. Gives a magnificent ball to Adam Muir, and he scores adjacent to the post.
The start of '94, it was my first sort of appearance as the club captain. So the kid comes up from 2nd grade, and that afternoon on the future of the football club changed, basically.
Now Andrew Johns sights a little hole himself. He's close, reaches out. That's a try to Andrew Johns.
to get the chance to represent the club and the region, for me, was a dream come true, and end up a special day. We won by plenty of points.
Here's a chance for the Newcastle Knights. Toe forward by Andrew Johns. Can he score his second? Yes! Great try, Andrew Johns.
You can't buy in deals between brothers. You can't buy players and make them think like brothers. And that's why they were so good.
This is the fifth tackle, the last opportunity on this set through Ainscow. Matthew Johns, the grubber kick. They're going to score! Oh, yes, they are! The Johns boys!
I know he's not going to meet us all tonight, but obviously Malcolm's here, and getting us together and wishing the best. He's the boy, and...
Bal's first meeting with the majority of players came during a canter over a couple of furlongs at Broadmeadow Racecourse.
The dirtiest war in Australian sport is set to become even grubbier.
Super League war. In the history of rugby league, it's significant. Certainly in the last 30 years for Newcastle Knights, it was a tumultuous but significant time. At the end of the day, Newcastle was a power player in it all, because it was seen with both sides, whoever got Newcastle basically had the power base, and they pulled us apart. You know, it was absolute chaos. It was a circus, and in the middle of all that, we had to make up what we thought at the time was life-changing decisions. And it was really, really hard.
Andrew Johns working a scrum from just outside his 20-metre line, and here's Matthew making the bust. Oh, Davis is on his inside. Halligan's missed it. Oh, give him the cue. Have a look at him. They got the hands up all over the park. Ainscow, he gets the try.
Every time Chief and Spud came together, you knew something was going to happen. People were on the edge of their seats.
And there's a punch-up.
Chief Mum would hide out the back of the grandstand, not watching the first 15 minutes of any game that those two clashed in.
Harrigan has gone after Carroll.
We were arch enemies. I'm happy to say, you know, these days we're great mates. But back in the day, basically for a while there, every time we come together, we fought.
Centre of the ground. McCormick runs from dummy half, and then Muir goes for his second, and he gets it. Muir scores his second try.
Didn't do a great deal. They were a very talented outfit, you know, with Matthew and Andrew, Chief, and some good outside backs. I just let them play football.
The last, they're going for it. There goes the shot. It looks okay. The hand will go up. It does. Newcastle, they're in front.
I love the club. They mean the world to me. So, you know, they're like a second family, really.
Hancock's on his outside. Hancock down the wing, down the left flank. Oh, great tackle. That was Mark Glanville with a superb shot.
The first opportunity to come up in a position in the back line to stay long term was right centre. So then in '96 there was a spot there, so they said just go and play right centre for a couple of weeks for us, and I was there for 10 years. So I was always more of a ball player than a ball runner. I guess that's why, you know, I was able to give some try assists. That was probably my biggest strength in actually scoring tries.
This is Gidley. Brings Albert inside. Albert, can he go into the corner again? Yes, he does. The Newcastle Knights are in front. It does not get any better than that.
Tini finds Kosef.
Massive hit. That's the biggest hit of the season so far.
And it's Mark Granville too that comes up with that hit. That is a sensation. Look at this. He nearly puts him back to Wollongong. Oh.
And in my mind, one of the highlights of the whole year, including the grand final, was Darren Albert's try-saving tackle on Matt Sears.
And Taylor, counter-attack for the Bears. Butner on the outside with Taylor. Then back inside for Sears. Dinnifer gets across. So to O'Davis. Sears is through. 20 metres from the line. Dalman coming across in cover. What a tackle. What a tackle from Darren Albert on Matt Sears.
It's one of the best bits of rugby league I've ever seen.
Now the final 5 seconds. One last play for the Bears. Taylor is with it. He goes back. Now with Butner. The short kick for the Chief. The Chief is off. Paul Harrigan with it. He links up. They don't need to score, but they will. The Newcastle Knights
Going back to 97, we'd lost 12 on the trot to Manly.
This has been one of the most eagerly awaited grand finals for many a year.
I was 20-year-old, boy from Curry. I just couldn't believe it.
So the fledglings are out there, led by Paul Harrigan. Many of them have had big match experience, but none of them have been to a grand final.
Obviously, I was confident we would win, and so were the players.
Matthew John, and away for O'Davis. A dummy to Craigie. He'll go over. Robbie O'Davis. Robbie O'Davis brings the entire Hunter to their feet.
Robbie O loves the big games. There's a bit of magic in Robbie O, and on that day, he had a big sprinkle of it. He was throwing it everywhere.
Jackson, Matthew John, now Andrew. Andrew John puts the dummy together. Then he picks up O'Davis. O'Davis looking for his second try. It's a try. He's on the line. I think it's a try.
I think the biggest accolade I could ever pass on is that I would have loved to have played in that team. They were so confident.
Not a bad position here for Matthew Johns if he could just get some protection.
Here's the shot. Gets the kick in. It's on. No.
I didn't know how long to go. I knew there was a couple of minutes. I didn't know there was seconds to go. But I can remember just getting in marker and I looked up and John Hopewadi was at marker. And my brother was calling for the field goal. I was thinking, well, I'll throw it to Matthew and let him have all the glory. John Hopewadi was actually pointing with that finger, so I didn't want him to do that to my brother. So I just rolled the dice, went down the short side, and I dummied to one of my great mates, Mark Hughes. He's still filthy at me today. I didn't pass him the ball, but then found Darren Albert. He went under the post, and the rest is history.
Now, fifth tackle. This is it. End the chance.
Andrew Johns.
Here it is. Knocked down by Manly. 6 more tackles. There's 20 seconds on the clock. Albert, he will play it. 21 metres away. Down the blind, Andrew John. Inside for Albert. Albert will score. Albert will score. Newcastle have won the grand final. Melbourne is over. Manly has been beaten by Newcastle on full time. 6 seconds to go, and Albert has scored an incredible try. Newcastle have won Rugby League's crown.
Finally, we're vindicated as a true rugby league town. And, it was just a wonderful feeling. And, you do things on a personal level, but when you win a grand final like that, where everyone shares, wow.
Your first time out is the one you remember. You can never replace your first kiss either.
This may surprise people. I can't remember too much of after the grand final or for the next few days. I just remember being a sea of people and the whole town was going crazy. Probably I was going the craziest.
And I played in Wembley's and won games with Great Britain and England, but that was a sensational evening, and the supporters of this club are probably the best in the world that I've encountered.
To wake up a couple of days later and hearing about this ticker tape parade and knowing all the atmosphere that was behind it, we thought it might be big, but we had no idea. My goodness.
They rode the wave of hysteria to the steps of Town Hall to be greeted by a bigger crowd than the Sydney Football Stadium on Sunday.
My eyes can't believe what they saw. It was just incredible sights.
Well, the amount of people lining the streets, it's just like no one went to work. There's people crying, and you realise how much it means to people of the Hunter and Newcastle.
I don't know why, but I love you.
tell you what, the town gives something back to us. They turned out in absolute amazing numbers, and you could just feel the love. It was just one of those moments where they give us back in tenfold. It was just, I'll never forget it.
It was just amazing. It was a sea of red and blue everywhere, and yeah, certainly something I'll never forget. And Screaming Jets played free concert for the crowd.
Newcastle are the premiers. Second time in history.
Grief. Jackson. Gidley. Now Hughes. Straight into a big hole. Badly needs support and finds it. Across they come. The Knights are throwing the ball about. Craigie and infield and over the line goes Moody. Moody has scored. Sensational stuff.
Being a Knights player is not just about being the biggest and strongest and fastest. It's about getting out there, putting your body on the line and doing your absolute best.
Up and away with Grief. He bounced away from Galia. He got away from Corvo. He's got away from four. Glenn Grief has scored a sensational try.
He's the new face of the Newcastle Knights. After a couple of years in the coaching wilderness, Warren Ryan is back.
Pretty much only Newcastle that could have dragged me back into it, frankly.
We're moments away from rugby league becoming a part of the Olympic Stadium. Paul Harrigan leads on the Newcastle Knights at Stadium Australia. Still tackles to work with though, and they are inside the Manly red zone. Here's Matthew Johns. Oh, great stepping off both left and right foot. Got it back to the teeth, and Harrigan punches over.
When I ran out on this field here, I felt like I had that strength, that support every time, and I definitely was a better player playing on this ground.
Shields is into space. Hughes is coming up on his right. Hughes is away. They won't catch him, will they? No. Hughes is over.
It's always good to pitch a game right at the death.
It may well be a pivotal time in their seasons. We see Andrew Johns leaving the field.
He was injured in the play before that. Here's a chance.
I mean, I've been playing with Albie for a long time, so I knew his strengths, and I knew if I could sort of get him into a bit of space that, you know, he scores most of the time.
You're not just playing for the Knights, you're playing for Newcastle, you're playing for the region.
So from Johns, across to McDougall again, 360 degrees, back up the middle goes McDougall, he's over, McDougall's in, try number 3.
Getting to play on this stadium and in front of the crowd that many times is something I've never taken for granted.
Quick tap taken here from Badiris, trying to catch him, napping, and he does! Danny Badiris will go all the way and score a try for the Newcastle Knights.
A lot of those players grew up and all they wanted to do was play for the Knights. It was more to those players than just being here. It was about representing the place.
Badiris running to the line, putting the short pass away, an inside ball to Kennedy. Kennedy got the pass away. Billy Beaton for the line. The skipper. Oh, they've come back from the dead, the Knights.
All of a sudden, this Tamanatau, who comes wandering over from Cardiff High and jumps on the wing outside. I mean, I quickly realised that he was as talented as Albie was. He probably wasn't as quick as Albie, but he was probably the best athlete the club's ever had.
Let's get in early, eh?
Halfway line. Last play before the break. Gidley. Cuts out McDougall. Goes to Tahu. A kick, a chase, and Lee Gather. There's try number 2. What a try! What a try!
At 35, Michael Hagan admits his rise up the coaching ranks has come quicker than expected. But next season, he'll not only be one of the youngest coaches in the NRL, he'll be the first former Knights player to coach Newcastle, an honour he hopes to repay in results.
It's a very special achievement for me to get this far, but I don't think that the job's not done just at the moment.
Says play on. Rudder. Cut out ball on Johns, finding Gidley. Inside for Johns. Johns is over. Andrew Johns is
personally, that's when I was playing my best footy. I really liked playing under Hagues, and I love the style of play we had at that time. It was really entertaining and was built around attack.
25 metres out from the line there in the centre of the ground. Johns has got one to beat. Johns is going to make it. Andrew Johns, the magnificent. Andrew Johns is a freak.
You could just sense there was a bit of momentum building at the back end of the year, and then we got a really good run during the campaign to be there at the end of the day.
Fifth tackle.
Again, no ollies. Nick.
Medeiros spears it across for Rudder. Rudder puts up a nice looking kick. They go up, they got the ball, they're over. Kennedy! Ben Kennedy has scored.
To me, the 2001 Grand Final was really important. Really important because it gave absolute vindication that the Knights have arrived.
101 buses have travelled down from Newcastle. They're here in their droves, from the youngsters right through to the oldies. It's a fabulous scene, and we are looking forward to the first nighttime grand final since this competition began way back in 1908.
Medeiros for Rudder. Now for Peden. Kennedy ran the decoy. Maybe a penalty. It's a try.
We just seen how nervous Parramatta were on that Thursday on the grand final breakfast, and we just knew we had to put our best foot forward, relax and play good footy, and that's what we did, which was great.
Medeiros, Johns, Rudder, there and again, Simpson.
I was fortunate enough to get across the line and sort of save one as well, but something I'll never forget and something I'll cherish forever.
What about that tackle of the year? Look, he purposely put his legs under that football. Great work by Simpson.
I look back now at the team we had. It was just full of absolute superstars, but then also it was full of great club guys who just were the glue that kept the club together.
Peden has got his second try.
We gave ourselves a great chance in the game, although the punters and the bookies probably didn't have it that way.
22 metres out from the Parramatta line. It's about to be challenged again. Rudder, Johns is through. Johns pulled down. 5 metres out now, Kennedy. Kennedy's over. Kennedy's in.
It was really important that the club won again. And that 2001 team, Mick Hagan as the coach, doesn't get any better.
33 metres out, middle of the ground. Johns. High ball. Tahu's after it. Ball bounces. Came off Tahu, and he grounds the ball.
You know, the fact, talking about Tamata, the fact that Tamata scored that try just after half-time, when Joey put that kick in the air and only Tamata scores that try, he manages to catch the ball, stay in field and get the ball down. I sort of jump for joy and I cuddle Tamata and I go a little bit overboard. But for me, that's my greatest moment because in my mind, that was the grand final done.
There's the hoot up. Newcastle have won it. Newcastle are the premiers. Second time in history.
We got the points again today. We never give in. Give in before it's on the ball. All the backs say our dream. We are the greatest football team that you will ever see. Hey!
Again, a really surreal experience and something that I doubt I'll experience again. But it was a fantastic ride that we're all on and we really enjoyed it.
I don't think we got back to Newcastle till 1 in the morning, and we came here to the ground. There was about 10,000 people here waiting. I think every one of them slapped me in the back of the head when we were doing the victory lap, but that was cool. But it just goes to show what it means to the people of Newcastle.
It was a successful team, and I know that a lot of our supporters really appreciated that period as well. But to do it for Newcastle, to have the town, the support that we enjoyed, they're just memories you'll never forget.
Brilliant try by the captain. Johns, see they've come up over enthusiastically. The champion goes into vacant space. Now he kicks ahead. Will they get the bounce? Will they get the bounce?
Probably one of the most special things about that period was playing at home and running out to crowds. You know, it was just hill. There was no facilities, anything like today, but the crowds jammed in.
Given by Gidley, away to Johns. Johns starts to get into the clear, looking for support and floats a wide pass out to Anthony Quinn. McGinnis
Maginness comes at Quinn. He uses a kick back on the inside. Hughes goes forward, takes it. What a take!
Like he's done so many times before, Andrew Johns added a memorable moment to an already long list on Friday night, this time against the Dragons.
Johns, it's coming around. It's coming back. He's going to get it. Yes! Andrew Johns has kicked it. What a phenomenal finish. What a miraculous event.
Well, we had a team that was obviously under injury clouds, a lot of players under injury clouds, but what we did have, we had some guys that came into our squad that were hungry to perform, and they got their opportunity.
Up the middle goes Medeiros. He's still going. Oh, what a dummy. What a dummy. Andrew Johns would have been proud of it. And Medeiros scores under the black dot.
That was the first game that had gone into Golden Point, so we didn't have any real tactics or plans around it because we thought let's just get there and try and win it.
Kurt Gidley's to the right.
He is indeed. He gives himself plenty of depth, gets the kick away.
It's over.
I think it's cleared the bar. It's cleared the bar. It's a point. Newcastle has won it. Kurt Gidley, he kicks a freak of a goal. Again, that was an indication of young players aspiring to play at Newcastle for the Knights and represent the town and the Hunter Valley. So I think that was a really key part of what the Knights are all about.
It was hard to deny a player, though, who'd captained club, state and country, was awarded the Dally M and was also named the Players Association Player of the Year.
To look back and realise you have played a lot of footy here at this ground and for these colours that I cherish is a really good feat.
And there was Lillyman on the fingertips of Carmont. He got away from Thurston, then offloaded for Quinn. On halfway, able to offload that time for Andrew Johns. And now they set, and straight through goes Mullen. Mullen with plenty of speed on the outside of Williams. Mullen goes all the way. The kid, the 18-year-old, still at school. There's something to talk about at lunch tomorrow.
Here it is, the kick that would break the all-time point-scoring record in rugby league.
Andrew Johns, you are rugby league royalty.
If there is one club in the National Rugby League that Newcastle has an adversity to, it's Manly.
Long ball out to his captain. It's with Andrew Johns. Holds it up, gets it away. Kurt Gidley tries. Kurt Gidley a try.
That's been built from day one, from 1988. Neither team like each other.
Medeiros runs in very quickly. Johns is wide away to the left. Here's Johns. No, it's gone back to Mullen. Mullen takes the shot. Jared Mullen's got the shot.
The former Parramatta mentor was all smiles as he arrived for his first press conference. After coaching Hull in England in the late 80s, Brian Smith says he won't be intimidated by the one team, one town atmosphere.
I like it where the expectations are high. I've tried it where the expectations are low, and it's not nice.
12 metres away on tackle 4. It comes to Kurt Gidley, will it for the drop for field goal. Kurt Gidley right in front, 15 out, has kicked the one-pointer. The Newcastle Knights are in front.
For so long, Andrew Johns has faced adversity and conquered all the challenges put to him, often defying many in doing so. Today, he faced the only one he couldn't beat, a neck injury, which has forced his retirement.
I'm still in shock. I was in shock when it happened. Just totally numb.
Tonight, I am proud to announce that the new Eastern Grandstand will be known as the Andrew Joey Johns Grandstand.
Play the ball from Houston. It goes to Duro. Simpson on his outside, chasing a grubber. He won the race to the ball. Great chase by Steve Simpson.
Yeah, the support we got was unbelievable. There's no crowd like it in the game, I don't think.
They should register their second win. This is a game for Newcastle to lose.
Mullen firing it for McDougall. He beat Barney. Hanging on Bailey. Got a ball to McManus. McManus in and away. Gidley centres himself. Gidley takes the final pass. And Kurt Gidley scores to the delight of the Newcastle fans.
These are the shots of former assistant coach Rick Stone's first training session in the top job for the Newcastle Knights. Held behind closed doors today, it followed a stunning chain of events which began overnight when the Knights board agreed to instate him as the club's head coach, effective immediately.
I think I'm the sort of coach that players will want to play for. I'd like to think I've had that sort of success before, and players have shown me that sort of loyalty before.
Having trailed 12-6 at the 21-minute mark. Last tackle, Gidley will test out Josh Hoffman. Ball will come down 5 metres out. They're not going to get to it first, Bruce, but Knights have got it. It's coming. Cooper Mooner's way. He's got
4. You know, something like this is important, I think, for members to sort of see me and understand that I am, positive and doing this for sort of the greater community. It's not a rich guy trying to force his way into owning a football team.
They came in droves to witness history in the making. A host of former Knights players and coaches, politicians, and the club's founding fathers all keen to give Nathan Tinkler the thumbs up. The alternative Patrons Trust model wasn't going down without a fight, but the mood seemed overwhelmingly in favour of privatisation. Once the votes had been counted, 97% of members had decided it was time for the Knights to enter a new era.
That's the kind of player he is. He still competed on it. The Sando juggles, finds Sutton who kicks.
Taylor's up. Chased by Luke, has a dive, it's in vain, 4 tries, equals the Newcastle record.
It's been more than 7 months since Wayne Bennett agreed to take the reins at the Newcastle Knights. Today they finally got the chance to impress their new boss as the coach got up close and personal.
There we go, quick reaction.
Bennett then fronted the media for the first time since accepting the job, explaining the reasons behind his move from the Dragons.
It's a great rugby league town. I just a great history here, some wonderful players, and I spent a long time with the Broncos and they're our arch rivals, so a lot of respect for them.
Shot. 20 years of age, years.
That's all you get out of the game. For me, is you get a little bit of financial windfall, but at the end of the day, that all can go. But the thing that can never leave you is the respect, integrity, and what you've got in and around your teammates when you do get together, and that's all you get when you walk through a room. That's the thing that you should value. No, I do.
And who's to say that the scoring won't continue all afternoon?
And Boyd has gone straight through. Well, it's just his second line break for the year. He'll set it up for Danny Manulis. I don't want to be on him over 50, but he had enough to make 15.
There's not many immortals around, but already in our short 30 years, we've got one immortal already.
Here it is with Mullen, Gidley, Mason. Mason swerves, got it, ball around the corner to Cuthbertson. That was a curler. Gidley on to Roberts. Roberts away. Leilua scores for Newcastle.
Well, it's signed, sealed and about to be delivered. The NRL are now the new owners of the Newcastle Knights, bringing to an end the 3-year reign of the now former owner, Nathan Tinkler.
The club's had its highs and lows in 30 years of rugby league, but probably the darkest day was the unfortunate accident with Alex McKinnon, and it really was a dark day. But the way that the crowd, the team, the club responded was extraordinary.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for Alex.
It was just something to behold, and that's probably encapsulates what Newcastle and the Newcastle Knights were all about.
5 seconds to go. Right hand side it goes to Roberts. Roberts to Snowden. The pass comes away to Gidley. Gidley down to Matalia. They've got the numbers here. Duarte! He scores in the corner. Levels the scores at 30 apiece.
What a finish!
Kurt Gidley moves in now to win the game for Newcastle. Gidley strikes the ball. It's coming back. He's nailed it. Kurt Gidley. They've won the game. You can't believe it. You cannot believe it. Newcastle have stolen the win.
it's been an emotional year, and I think the emotions overflowed then. Oh, it was a big game, mate. It's a big game.
There's nothing harder to have a go at as a player, as a coach, than to be part of the NRL. So that the expectations, the pressure are very high. And Newcastle's, I think, had a high level of expectation because of what we've achieved before now.
Clydesdale. Tyrone Roberts. It's gone through. He's got support. Tyrone Roberts. Sione Natalia. Just over 1,000. Back Sione Natalia. Bowled away. And Newcastle. What a try.
Rugby league will always have a future in this town. This town means so much to the team, and the team means so much to the town. And that's one thing I'm disappointed for the last decade here, is that the guys that have gone through here and represented our town and our team, they don't know how good it is. They don't know how good it is. I even think of Wayne Bennett. He doesn't know how good it is.
Nathan Brown officially appointed Knights coach and left in no doubt of the massive task ahead of him.
We wish you every success. Thank you. We need it. We have not had a season that we're very proud of.
He's very passionate, the chairman. He's a good man. He's very successful, obviously, and hopefully his passion will rub off onto plenty of the players as well.
Levi shapes to the left-hand side, fires it to Hodkinson, speculator away to Elliott, who punted to himself. Now Nathan Ross. Ross bursts, holds, and if you don't mind, a perfect 10 from Nathan Ross.
I think it's going to be turning the next 2 or 3 years. I think Nathan Brown, well, I know Nathan Brown's the man for the job, and as long as they can see their team aiming up, then they'll turn up and watch them.
Lining up for the killer blow, Newcastle. Gagai. He throws it through Stone. Hodkinson. Numbers here to the left. Mitch Barnett running at a hole. Catch and pass. They do so. Ross back at an angle. And Nathan Ross goes over again. Newcastle should win. And after 336 days, look at the celebrations.
There were more reasons for the players to celebrate this morning as they welcomed a special guest to training. Paddy Smith has missed just 2 home games since 1988. Today she marked her 95th birthday with the first grade squad.
I just wish them all the very best in the future, and hope the community gets behind them, and hope the coaching staff and the current management in Broglio gets sorted, and they can really pitch forward a club built on the standards that we started with, that can represent the community with the courage, the unity and the pride that we all felt in the jumper.
And anyone who tries to do great and excel themselves from our region, we get behind them in any sport, in any vocation. And for our young boys who live in this area, who may come from another area that likes our ways and resonates with them, that represents us, I think it's a great opportunity and a really amazing thing to have in your life.